Good morning and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Taylor and I teach 3rd grade in Central California. Today is just going to be a day in the life of a teacher vlog. I have a couple fun ideas going on today, so I want to share them with you. First thing, we're going to be doing our morning work, which is our language arts and math, and then we're going to dive into our writing. So I found some awesome story starters from Teacher Pay Teachers, Teresa Evans, I believe. And then I kind of matched that with a lesson I saw from Hello 3rd Grade, where she put like different stories on the walls and the kids came together and made stories out of them. So kind of making my own version. As you can see, I have these little posters around the room. So these story starters, they go anywhere from just like pretty basic to they give you a full-on start of a story. So I'll take you around and show you all the ones we're going to be starting with today. And whichever sentence starter they pick, they're gonna come together and then we're going to create a story. But I'm going to guide them by telling them whether I want a statement or a command or a question or an exclamatory sentence. So that way I can kind of switch it up and we're not just writing the same statement. And so kind of guide them through their writing. They picked theirs that they wanted to do yesterday and kind of free wrote, but I find they weren't coming up with enough information. So I figured they'll be able to work together and really come up with a good story. And then that way they can either use this story or move on and write their own. Okay, so we just wrapped up our story writing. They had a blast. They came up with so many good ideas. We're really working on lengthening their stories, so I think this was really good. It helps them add more detail and really lengthen their sentences. So super fun. I'll bring you guys around real quick so that way you can see what they wrote. I'm so sorry, but I did not have any time to pick up my camera and record the middle process, but our writing is up on the wall, so I'm gonna walk you through what we did in the middle. So the first day is when the kids actually wrote the story. Day 2, I had them come back with their journals and they had to rewrite their story into their own journal. This was their time to where if they wanted to make any changes, if they wanted to use the same starter but write a completely different story, they could. This is going to be their independent story that is going up on our writing wall. But this also really helped my lows, because since my lows were such a big part of making the story, they were actually really aware of what they were writing, and it really cemented some of the learning. So when they were actually copying this story into their journals, it made a lot more sense to them. When I met with them, we were able to add a little more details and really make it their own. So then I would call them over to my back table and they would bring their journal and show me their story. From there, I would make corrections, and this really depended on where my kids were at in their writing skills. So I told them I was really going to be focusing on capitalization, punctuation, and then they needed to have at least 5 sentences. So when they were done writing, they had to go double check those things, and they would come to me and I would double check and I would make sure that they had the 5 sentences, capitalization, punctuation, and I would occasionally correct some spelling that they should be getting. I would have them repeat a sentence, and if the sentence sounded kind of funny, we would find out what words were missing, what words we could include to really make it a strong sentence. Were there details we could add, that kind of stuff to really enhance their story. So once they were done with their journal, they would grab a fancy paper, as I call it, and it has a little picture at the bottom, but then they were just going to transcribe from their journal over to their fancy paper. And then this is where they really put in their illustrations, and I wanted their illustrations to have plenty of detail and really tell about the story. Overall, I think this was a fantastic writing activity. It got students really engaged. They really worked together to see how much writing should actually go into making a story. Because when I first gave them the story starters, they'd finish the sentence, maybe give me one more. But once they were with a group, they had ideas just flowing and they wanted to write down everything and they wanted to keep going. And it's like, this is what writing is supposed to be. And it really clicked. Like, they liked their story so much more than what they first wrote in their journal. And they really got to work through the process together, and it helped my lows really get to put their thoughts out there. My middles got to see maybe some higher vocabulary or higher sentence structures from my highs, and then my highs also got a chance to full on take off and write their own thing when it came to their journals. And because they worked together, and then some went on and made their own independent stories, they were just so proud of their work. Like, they could not wait for it to get up on the wall. And I couldn't either. So now I'm gonna bring you closer so you can take a look at their work. So it's Friday, we've been working on graphing. So I have a fun graphing activity that we're going to do. So I made a graphing anchor chart so we can use it for a quick reference, and then we're going to be doing these worksheets. I got this one about the candy shop from second grade sweetness, so they're gonna be able to count this up, and then we're going to fill out this little chart. So it goes over picture graphs and bar graphs along with the frequency table. And then on the back, we have another graph, which they're gonna be super excited about because I got M&Ms. Okay, so I gotta go pick them up. I'll let you guys know how it goes. Okay, so school is out, the week is over. I'm missing lights, just two, okay. Graphing went super well, and because they were pre-packaged M&Ms, there was really no saying how many you would get or how many of which color, if you're even going to get all of the colors. So it was a really good, just random way to gather data and graph. They did pretty well. So we gathered our data first, and then we made our picture charts. So they just drew circles with an M in it, and I made them write a key, which he did not, but they were supposed to write a key at the bottom. And then the bar graph, they got to color how many they had of each colored M&M. Overall, I would say really good. I didn't have kids really complaining about how many M&Ms they got or their neighbors got or how many of each color or whatever, so that was really good. Way different from first grade. A couple kids would have probably had a conniption seeing that their neighbor got one more M&M than them. So third grade, this was definitely a plus. And I definitely threatened that if I saw them even try to eat one M&M, it'd be gone, they'd have to use their neighbors to graph, and they would not be able to eat them. So they did not want to mess that up. My principal ended up walking in too, just a random observation thing. And so it was really cool to have her see a more hands-on graphing activity, and I'm excited to see what she thought. Because it's definitely more energy in the room whenever you're doing something hands-on, and especially with candy. So I think it was pretty good considering all of that. So as a mini lesson before I went into the graphing, I had a presentation. We went through this anchor chart that I showed you earlier, and I actually made a horizontal bar graph on my board over here and asked them if that was still a bar graph. And I had some of them say, no, it wasn't. If we hold a candy bar vertical, is it still a candy bar? If we hold a candy bar horizontal, is it still a candy bar? And then it was like, light bulb, got it. So I think that was really good too. And because all the pictographs we've been doing have been horizontal, the one on the worksheet we did was vertical. And so that kind of threw them off for a second, but it was like, well, are we still using symbols and pictures to show our data? And then it was like, okay, I got it. So I feel like I definitely had a lot of light bulbs go off to where they really understand graphing now, and they are prepared enough to create a graph if they need to about any data. At the end of the day, we actually had time for PE. And so I made a really random quick obstacle course out of the jungle gym that we have. And I didn't realize how many of my kids haven't used pieces of the jungle gym just because they were afraid. So I had them use the fireman's pole, and I showed them how to use it. I had them try the swinging monkey bar things. And I had a lot of kids that were afraid to do that too, or weren't sure and didn't trust their strength. So luckily third grade is small enough to where I can still kind of hold them up and kind of show them how they're supposed to do it, or make them a little less scared, take some weight off of their hands. And so that really helped them a lot. And I had a lot of kids tell me after, like, thank you, Miss Blair, for helping me. And now they're not afraid to try it at recess, and they're going to get better. So it was just like, we get so focused on this academic stuff, and there's straight up kid stuff that they're not getting to experience. So it was really nice to be able to take them outside and show them how to do kid stuff, like monkey bars, or go down a fireman's pole. So I'm really glad that we got to do that for PE. We'll probably do it more often now that they thought it was a blast, and they're getting little muscles climbing those things. So totally worth it. But yeah, so this week was crazy. I feel like I didn't pick up the camera nearly as much as I should have, but mostly just because it was so hectic. We had so much to do. It was testing week, so we had 2 benchmarks, we had 2 blocks that we had to do for SBAC practice, and I had to remake my schedule because certain RSP times weren't working anymore, and it was just like, I feel like I'm missing something. So this is where I put my new schedule. That's how I'm gonna try to do it. We'll see if it works. Since this was a review week, we didn't have our weekly test, but it also left it a little less structured than usual, which just automatically causes chaos, especially because everything's just different. So I'm really hoping starting Unit 2 on Tuesday, because we have Monday as an in-service day, will bring everything together and calm everything down. But then again, we have Monday off and it's a short week, so it might be just as hectic. So that's all I have for you this week. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next week.